Wagwan, you multifamily enthusiasts. Welcome to another episode of the Multifamily Real Estate Experiment Podcast. I'm your host, Shelon Hutchinson. And look, you can call me Hutch the Marine Investor as well. All right, so today we have an extraordinary guest with us, our good friend, Julie Holley. We've been connected for several years now, and it's always amazing having a conversation with Julie. It's important that within the first minute of your conversation, you say something positive to or about that individual that you're encountering. And that definitely builds the foundation for a thriving relationship and also for great conversation as well. So Julie's the founder of Three Keys Investment and a conscious investor movement, which is dedicated to supporting people around the globe, creating personal freedom. This podcast, we talk about money a lot and real estate investing, but look, this one, her goal is to help folks to create more personal freedom. So, with nearly 2 decades of experience in real estate investing, Julie helps people build tangible wealth through multi-million dollar apartments, assisted living facility, and performance coaching. So, Ms. Julie Holley, I want to welcome you to this episode.
It's so awesome to be here, friend. I looked forward to this just because we've been friends for so many years in this climate, in what everything in the economy and the globe and real estate investing. It's always nice to just be in the presence of someone who walks and invests with such great integrity.
I appreciate you as well. Julie, do you have a favorite real estate quote or mantra that drives you? Pretty sure you got some good ones.
So mine shifts, but my true north, whatever our
Yeah.
North Star is always guiding us. So for me, like I always have an inner guidance that says, hey, am I being vertically aligned? If I stood in the presence of God right now, how does this land? And that gives me so much freedom to live this amazing life because I just know that I don't have to worry about pleasing all the people around me because I can never do that. But
Mhm.
I'm like, hey, if I am honoring my God, I'm good to go. And it's opened up a lot of freedom in my life.
Now, man, let's talk about a vertical alignment. What does that mean to our listeners?
Yes. Okay. So everyone has their belief systems. I
Yeah.
believe in Jesus. And so I just believe like, hey, vertically aligned, I believe God is everywhere. But I think if God were up in heaven looking down and I was looking up, so to me, that's that vertical. If I looked up to heaven and I got to see God and say, hey, how's it going? Or he's
Yeah.
looking down on all the things that I'm up to. So that's that vertical alignment that I'm talking about. When you do that, you can't, when you're looking vertically, I'm doing it right now if you're listening on the podcast. It's hard to look peripherally
Mhm.
when you're actually looking vertically and your focus is vertical. And so maybe to succinct that would be where our focus is, our energy flows.
Mhm.
When my focus is really clearly vertically aligned, it's very easy to not worry about everything on the peripheral and to not be distracted by the noise.
Yeah, man, there's so many distractions, man. And the crazy thing is that a lot of these distractions, some of them come in some enticing ways that makes you really want to focus on them, right? But then it takes you off your alignment of your true north. Yeah, I like that. Be vertically aligned. So, Ms. Julie, can you tell our listeners a little bit more about yourself and your current focus?
Yes, I actually started my whole career as a public school teacher. I taught
Okay.
first and second graders because I have a heart to serve and to support people. And then I discovered that I could serve and support people through
Mhm.
real estate investing. And I absolutely love what I do and have 1,000 units and have been really successful with that. And I'm grateful for that opportunity to educate adults because when we educate adults, it will trickle down to the kids. And I think you and I have seen that in
Yeah.
our own families, how everything we've learned about real estate investing over the years, our kids are picking up whether they like it or not. And then the extension of that is people come to me and they've asked for support. And because I care about people, I also coach people. So
Mhm.
it's interesting to see how things extend and bleed into new opportunities. And when you're really clear about what you want to do in life, and my mission is, my heart is to help and support people, then it makes it really clear.
Hmm.
How I do that is a variety of ways.
That's interesting. So you're a teacher by heart for children. Now you're teaching adult, right? Which comes with its own challenges, right? Because now you are breaking into an environment where the paradigm is almost structured, right? And in order to change that, a person have to be purposeful about the direction that they want to go, to be able to do the repetition that is necessary to break some bad habits, to break a lot of the things that might not be useful anymore towards our personal and professional growth. So definitely admire you for making the transition to educating adults with the hopes or with the goal, but also hopes, because sometimes we don't have control of what really happened, right? I like to say that hope is not a course of action, and we can impact the things that we can. So we will do our best to educate people based on the things that we have learned about the things that are useful, with the goal that, look, if they continue to teach the ones that they care the most about, then eventually the future will be this amazing place where we are more aware of a lot of things. Not necessarily mean we're going to take action of them, but we are aware of what the possibilities are. I think, to your point, educate the adults, they should be educating the children. So today, Julie, we're going to focus on the passive investor mindset. Some of these questions are going to dive into real estate, and we want to dive into the mindset of a passive investor. The question we're going to ask is how to successfully invest in a up and a down market. So I've structured around 7 questions, and I got you for the next 30 minutes or so. If we can ask all those questions, we should have an interesting conversation today about a passive investor mindset. Okay, number one, we're going to talk about understanding the passive investor mindset. So, Julie, you typically emphasize the importance of cultivating conscious investor mindset, right? In fact, I think you might have a podcast on that, right?
Yes, I do. So the Conscious Investor podcast is over 500 episodes now. It focuses on health, mindset, and wealth. I think this is where that passive investor mindset really comes into play. It's really a mindset towards all of life, right? Because good things impact everything in our life. And
Right.
so when we're focused on only cultivating wealth, we can start sabotaging the best parts of our life. We can start sabotaging our physical health, our relational health, our spiritual health,
Mm-hmm.
and really buttoning things down and saying, I want to be a strong investor and I want to invest passively because that's going to support the lifestyle I want to create for myself and my family. And now we can go back and say, let me make sure, if you listen to my podcast, you will know I don't like living what I call a checklist life, where it's like, oh, check, I did it. But there are some things that we always need to, just like when we're in a car, we hop in the car, we put our seatbelts on, we look at the gauges and we say, do I have enough gas to get where I want to go? And is my Bluetooth connected up correctly? We have a protocol for how we go about things. And that protocol for good passive investing starts with saying, am I even taking care of my body? Am I taking care of the relationships in my life? Am I taking care of my spiritual well-being? Because if I invest passively and I gain the increase in my funds, it's going to magnify the type of person that I am. Mm-hmm. And who I am. And so if I'm a jerk to the people around me, it's going to magnify that. If I'm unhealthy now, it's not going to get easier just because now I have passive income in my life. So creating that structure is really, in my opinion, the foundation. And it sounds, most people are not going to start with any of this at all. They're going to say, hey, go read a book, download my free thing, which I have all of those things. But it's a matter of actually posturing ourselves so that we're putting ourselves in a position to where we can invest and we can receive and remain a whole solid human being in throughout the process.
Definitely important. So I think what I'm hearing, you're saying that money doesn't change you.
Money does not change you. It amplifies you. It's more like a microscope or a megaphone. Like it is going to magnify whatever is already in you. Another way is it's going to be that megaphone. So whoever you are, that's going to become more clear, more pronounced, and more obvious. And so we want to make sure that we're walking and living with clear values, virtues, character, right? All of that needs to be intact throughout our investing process.
So you're saying that if I am a genuinely good person, as I start increasing my net worth, my wealth, then there's a good chance that I would be more philanthropic. I would want to make a bigger impact in the community. I would want to educate my children more about how to be better, outstanding citizen. However, in contrast, if I am waiting for this mythical feeling or this mythical being, say I am in a bad mood every day and I'm thinking to myself, I will be happy when you're saying that might not be the better way to go,
Definitely not the better way to go,
right?
because you think about the people who we tithe. That's something that's important for my family, for my
Right.
husband and I, regardless of over the years, the decades we've been together. If there was much or little, it didn't matter. And so it goes back to a principle that, even if, listener, you don't share my belief system, it makes sense when you say, if you are willing to do it with something small,
Yeah.
you will be more than willing to do it with something larger, something greater. Life never gets easier. And I think what sometimes we forget is that an increase in our wealth is also
Mhm.
going to increase our need and necessity to grow as a person, because
100%.
maybe we haven't experienced that level of wealth. And so
Right.
now we have to learn, how do I manage this? How do I utilize this? How am I using this in a productive, responsible way?
Mhm.
So we train ourselves from the very get-go. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
going to be philanthropic and I'm going to contribute to these charities that I believe in. And I'm going to do that if it's $3 or if it's $3 million, whatever it
Yeah.
is, wherever I am. It's an unwavering, unchanging posture that we have.
No, I like that mindset. And if you listen to this and you are a business owner, right? The be do have concept, right? And if you think about it in your business, if you're aspiring to build a $1 billion business, you're not going to wait until you are at a $1 billion evaluation for you to build the team or the culture around you that can support that level of growth. I think it's same in your internal as well. If you have a vision of where you want to go, it's important that you cultivate that person who can, one, withstand that level of growth, because to Julie's point, money is going to magnify who you truly are inside. And I think this, we are always learning. We are learning the environment. We also learning ourselves. We are learning our team. We are learning our small community, right? We can make some major positive impact, but a lot of that stuff is going to start inside of us, of what kind of person we want to be, and just continuously be, to Julie's point, vertically aligned with what is important and keep that your true north. And as you grow in education about the things you're committed to, as you grow in the ways of being a better husband, better mom, better father, better brother, sister, then make sure that is aligned. And then from that place is where you make a decision. We can start looking at peripherals, get a bigger vision. So your sphere of influence, also your sphere of impact, become a lot bigger when you're in a position to help others. So it definitely start with being a great person and continuously build that person. Because look, the version of a good person as a, I think where we are right now versus where we want to go, our version has to become a lot stronger. There's going to be a lot more difficulties that comes your way, right? And when you take on the responsibility of making big impacts, then that's a lot more responsibility on your being. So the growth is important consistently towards that end. So I appreciate you dropping that as for us, Julie. So I want to talk a little bit more in the next question about balancing financial freedom with life and other priorities. So you've discovered that many people pursue financial freedom at the expense of other areas of their life. How do you guide investors in balancing their financial goals with their health, relationship, and personal growth?
This is when we think about small business owners, there is
Right.
not a better example. And those of you who own a business, I'm sure this is relatable, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes when we start a business, we might be willing to work insane, exorbitant hours.
Right.
And we might put ourselves in the red line zone, meaning we are exhausting our physical energy, our mental energy, our finances. Everything might just be all poured out on the table all at once. And we can't sustain that, right? And so that's why we end up hiring people and growing in that capacity. So when we are thinking about maintaining balance, it's saying, do we want to be a business owner that's redlining? Is that actually a healthy thing to be doing?
Yeah.
I had to step back a lot on my business practices when I made my transition from public school teacher into full-time real estate investor. I was able to go all in. Mm-hmm. And then I learned I had to groom myself and create some different habits, and that confidence that the sky's not going to fall if I'm not, let's say, available 24/7. We could fill it in with so many different things, and business owners, you definitely you can relate to this with any of your individual businesses. We think that we have to show up constantly for something, and it's just in our imagination. And so one of the most important things we do is take inventory of the space between our ears and say, what is it that I am focusing on? Because what I focus on is going to grow. And am I weighting this so much so that it's overshadowing other really important areas that need my attention? So if we back this up, I'm going to double tap on the whole health mindset. Wealth comes last. Let's make sure am I taking care of my physical being? This is one of my questions to myself every single day. Actually, I have an affirmation that says, I'm a good caretaker of my physical being. And I say it like that instead of saying my body, because that has a different connotation, right? Yeah. And so, and as we mature, as we age in life, everything shifts. Being a good caretaker of my physical being so that I can show up. If we're bleeding out in all the other areas of our life, we're not going to be balanced. Now, balance is interesting. I'm going to give this analogy. I want you to visualize yourself as you are walking a balance beam. And the Olympics were recent enough that you've probably caught some footage of a gymnast up on a high beam, 6 inches wide. Yeah. Okay, you're up there on that and you're walking. You can only do 1 foot at a time. You have 1 foot down solid. Balance is what's taking place. You're balancing yourself out. And that means maybe 1 foot solid, but the other part of your body is actually in motion. It's actually taking action, doing something. And that's one of the methods of staying balanced. So we're making forward movement. We're saying, here, I have a foot planted. I'm going to keep the balance by moving my other foot in front of that. And I'm going to continue doing this left, right, left, right. And so when we think about that, we're going from left to right to left to right. We're not saying everything is equal and everything is the same. We're saying, it's good. Hey, we have all of our weight and focus and concentration is going to be on this at this time. Maybe I had a health scare. No, I haven't, praise God. But we could say, oh my gosh, I had a health scare. So now all of my attention might be focused on my physical health. Or maybe we take a different step and say, things in the real estate investing space are really spicy right now. It needs all of my attention. But when we're taking the forward movement, it balances itself out. So we don't have to worry about making sure everything is all equal and the same at any given time. We need to make sure that what needs our attention has our attention and that we're taking forward action along the way.
That is amazing. Now, something unique happened this weekend, and it was a big eye-opener for me. We test drive a Tesla. We got to do a demo drive. I'm trying to figure out if I should buy my son a new car or should I give him my car and then I buy a new car. So we did an overnight demo with a Tesla Model 3 dual motor version. And then I had to bring it back the following day, Sunday morning by 10 a.m. So I dropped the car off and I was so excited to follow the instruction that the guy gave me. Push the button. I was happy to know exactly where the button is on the dashboard and locked the car. And then I got out, put the key on inside the glove box. I got out, closed the door. My cell phone is inside. Right? And keep in mind, this was about 9:30 in the morning. I had a tea time at 10:48 and I think to drive me home. And I had to go home, get my boy, and then meet her at tea time. So there's no way I was going to go back and get the phone because the store didn't open until 10 a.m. And I had a half an hour drive across the island to go to start my golfing tea time. I called them, tried to change my tea time. They was like, nope, we're pretty booked today. If you change your tea time, if you don't show up at tea time, you're going to end up waiting for a couple hours. I'm like, crap. So I went golfing with my son without my cell phone. And it's been one of the most free I've ever felt. I was not encumbered by anything out in the external world. I was able to play all 18 holes, enjoy the beautiful conversation with my oldest boy, enjoy the scenery. I got to post some pictures on Kaneohe Bay. It's probably one of the most pristine sights you'll ever see. It overlooks the ocean, right? And then you have the Kolau Mountains on your right, and the base housing and another mountain, the rifle range on. So these guys, they have a nice panoramic view, but I had also at hole 13, I had this beautiful view. So I was able to take time to really immerse myself in the environment and also immerse myself in the quality time that I wanted with my son, my oldest boy, before we go back off to college, right? Unencumbered by the external world. These little things that keep us focused on the things that are important. And I think when you talk about balancing, not trying to do everything on the same level, same time, like we can't pray 8 hours. We're probably not going to pray 8 hours a day, but we're going to work 8 hours a day. We need some kind of
Yes.
spiritual development, personal development, all the good stuff. And we don't have enough time in the day to do everything equally and still make an income, still be able to put food on the family table. So what comes down to identifying what is most important, do that thing, uninterrupted focus, and then move on to the next one. And then, of course, if once you have clarity on the things that are important, then you can take the necessary steps towards it. And so I appreciate you for doing that for your investors and helping them to be conscious investors. So, Jill, we're going to talk about investing in an up and down market, right? Because a lot of us, we've seen this. When you and I came into the real estate game back in 2018, 2019 timeframe, like really start diving into syndication and start acquiring a lot more assets, investing seemed easier in the up market. But down market can often present a unique challenges and also opportunities, right? So, what strategies do you recommend to passive investors to remain successful and confident regardless of the market conditions?
Okay. First of all, pick up Morgan Housel's book. Hutch
Okay.
knows that I wouldn't be me if I didn't recommend at least one book. Pick up Morgan Housel's book, The Psychology of Money. It's such a fantastic
Okay.
foundation for all investors. And it broaches a lot of these topics in unique ways. And so I'm going to echo some things that he said, perhaps, but there are things that I believed and he gave words to them that are beautiful. We invest in every single market cycle. We need to make sure that we're not investing with our emotions. Investing
Okay.
is a business strategy, and that our homes, our retirements, those are the business elements of our personal life. And so while we want to associate the feelings, the aspirational feeling of all the passive income that we're going to receive and possibly some tax perks that we may be able to apply
Yeah.
depending on how we are structured. It's not for
Yeah.
everybody. And so we can look at all of that and we can put too much weight, going back to balance, we can put too much weight on the emotions of that. Oh, that's going to be so great. And I'm going to enjoy more free time. And we need to look at this in a very pragmatic business way. Who are the people in this situation? Who are the people that are running the show, the lead sponsors, and who's managed the asset managers, right? We want to actually know what is taking place, and we're going to vet every single deal the exact same way in every single market.
Right.
Who are the people? What is the investment opportunity? And does this make sense for my investment portfolio at this time? We should have these unwavering questions, regardless of what the economy is doing and where we're at in the real estate cycle. But for those who do not get derailed and distracted by all the doom and gloom and noise and chatter of the world, these are the people who make substantial gains in the down markets because they're just being consistent. And maybe they see an opportunity to invest a little more because, wow, that aligns with my goals, and the who's behind it and the deal itself are solid. And so they're going to make the gains And this is where we always look back and say, oh, I wish we could go back to 2011. And then we'll say, oh my gosh, could we go back to 2019? And remember during the pandemic, everyone's, oh my gosh, we're just not. And I was one of these. So I'm going to throw myself under the bus. I'm like, I don't know. I just want to see what's going on and how things are going to shake out. 2020 was a phenomenal year to invest.
It was crazy. With the right debt structure, of course.
With the right people, the right deal, the right structure, everything. Okay. It presented. And so we always see these things in hindsight. And so we have to put our emotions in check and say, okay, I can understand this. I do have emotional intelligence that helps guide and direct my decisions. However, I need to make sure that I'm not just latching onto the fear out in the world.
Yeah.
And then I'm taking a very clear step forward every step of the way.
No, 100%. There's really money to be made in our market. And you and I are seeing that right now, where the jockey or the operators is the ones that are really making or breaking some of these deals.
I just want to throw this out there for the listener. Right. I think this is interesting, right? If we own businesses,
right?
And as business owners, we don't say, oh, the economy is going down, so I'm just going to reduce my marketing and I'm going to cut my staff and I'm going to just shrink it on down. If we do that, our business is going to go away. So we can think about our investing very much in tandem with how we're operating our business. We don't close our doors just because the economy is bad, right? That's a failed business. That's not a business that's going to be thriving decades from now. And so we want to say, we're not closing the doors on our investing. So where's the opportunity for me at this time?
Yeah, that is so true. And I like the way you relate that to small business owners, because when we build something, we build it for the longevity, right? Tony Robbins talk about the reason why a lot of folks quit is because they're not really building a business, and they're pretty much having a hobby, right? So when you start building a business, the chances for those folks who are like long-term focused, one, they're building a business to create some kind of legacy for themselves and their family, or they building a business to the point where somebody is willing to purchase it, right? And then maybe they can use that capital to start another business, or they build it to where now they can go to where they want to go eventually, maybe, and that's being a full-time passive investor. So they build it, sell it, build another business, sell it, and keep leveling up. Or they can build enough and get enough income or get a big enough payday to where they can actually go to the passive income that will bring them the time freedom, location freedom of purpose, and a couple of different other freedoms as they're seeking. But so yeah, you don't quit when things get hard. You double down on the effort. And same is true in the Marine Corps. Like whenever we set a mission, like we need to achieve this level of readiness. And we're seeing that we have some constraints that's going to prevent us from get there. We don't lower the bar, right? What we did, we commit more, right? So we might need to go 12 on, 12 off, work a little bit longer hours, and maybe sometime 6 off and 18 on. Do what it takes to get the mission accomplished. And I think as a small business owner, they can relate with that. Like, none of us want to close our business. We're going to double down, because a lot of the things we want to accomplish will take twice as much, sometimes 10 times the effort that we initially thought it would take to make an income or profitable, but also sustaining a business long term. It's going to take 10 times the effort. So, Julie, I want to talk about some risk management in a volatile market, right? So the market volatility can be super intimidating for some people, right? Especially for passive investing. How do you advise your investor on how to manage risk while still taking advantage of investment opportunities during market downturn? I think you touched on that earlier about understanding the operators, understanding your business strategies. Are there some other things that you talk to your investors about?
I was speaking with one of my investors who has invested substantially in our investments over the years.
Right.
And this investor is actually looking to relocate to a different location and was asking, hey, do you think I should use this money to invest, even though it'll be leveraged money? Or do you think I should just put this on the new house that I'm purchasing? I told that investor, I said, we need to be thinking about your peace of mind. And we need to be thinking about you sleeping at night. And we need to be thinking about what is it that is going to allow you to check those boxes in an appropriate check the box way, right? Because if we sleep well at night, if we don't have a bunch of mental gorillas coming and tingling in our brains, we're going to show up a lot better in the world.
Okay.
And so this investor was really grateful and said, wow, I could have just said, yeah, throw your money in my deals. Yeah. Give me more, give me. But that's not what's best for that investor. And so one of the things that you want to do is to mitigate risk is make sure that whoever you're investing with is aligning with your goals for the longer term of your life and saying, I know this investor well enough to know this sleep at night policy based upon the last few years, this is going to be substantial and support that person on a deeply personal way so that they'll be able to do so much more. This person is a business owner. The business is going to flourish because they're not going to be sidetracked by this investment has to perform at this rate or I'm going to be in trouble. Right. And so one, align yourself with people who are going to go to bat for your best interests. Two people right now, I know for a fact have that, Hutch and myself. Like I know that even our souls are very much for people and how do we serve you and protect you and support you. And you want to make sure, just to go double back, mitigating risk. You got to listen to your intuition as you are looking at the people behind it. We have three intelligences. We have our head, which is all logic and reasoning. We have our heart, our emotions, and we have our gut, our intuition. We have three massive intelligences to serve us. And so we don't want to weigh all on either of those. But I made it all worked out in the end. I didn't lose money, but personally, this was not including any investors. I made a personal investment some years back in an e-commerce store. And my husband's intuition was, this isn't a good idea. And I overrode my amazing husband's intuition with my logic and my reasoning and my emotional intelligence of like, it's so fun. That was not intelligent at all. And so being able to listen to your spouse or your partner, whoever is investing with you, because collectively you're going to have so much more wisdom and insight. We also say in our house, the Holley house, is no fear-based decisions. Fear is not a reason to make any decision at all. And that's not a way to mitigate risk. Making a reactive fear-based decision is actually going to close you off from opportunity that is probably really great opportunity, because fear is just a lack of clarity. Everything's jumbled up. And so we need to sift through and understand what is driving this uncertainty about this investment opportunity. And it might be very grounded in factual, or it might be grounded in some crazy thing from 3 generations previous in your family that got passed down to you about your money mindset.
Oh, wow. So it's a good segue into the next question that talks about the role of emotional resilience in investing, right? So investing, particularly in uncertain times, it can be an emotional roller coaster. And we have seen this over the past couple of years. How do you coach investors or communicate with investors to develop an emotional resilience needed to stay on the course and make sound decisions?
When we're not investing with our emotions, when we're investing, as we've said throughout this episode, if you are investing in the people, in the deal, you can sleep at night. You know that they have it covered. And we keep in mind that there are undulations, there are waves in everything. I invest passively, and I've seen that over the years. It's okay, the distributions aren't as great as they were last quarter, but that's reasonable because there was just a fire. There was this, there was that. And so we have to just say, I'm not in this for a moment. And we've touched on this. Right. We're in this for a long haul. And so we can trust that process and really uncouple ourselves from that emotional roller coaster. This is one reason why I don't like the stock market. I think that every investment portfolio should be balanced. So I do
Correct. Yeah.
think that having that in our investment portfolio is great. The volatility of it is always up and down, just like crypto. I have crypto in my investment portfolio. I love crypto, but I like it because it's so crazy. And I just watch it. I'm like, what are you doing? Are you schizophrenic or what is it? I can watch the crypto and it doesn't affect me emotionally
Correct.
because I know I'm holding that for such a long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
That's my goal is I'm going to hang on to that, just like my real estate. I'm going to hang on to this for a long time. And yeah, it's going to have ups and downs, but the trajectory is going the direction. The trends are in the direction I need it to go.
To your point, never invest in something that you don't understand. And,
Seriously.
to your point about having a synergistic portfolio that include real estate, stock market, some crypto, I think that's important. And the balance that you'll find or the emotional detachment that you will have to that money is understanding the job of that money. What is it doing? And when you understand how that particular investment work, then you understand the job of that dollar that was assigned to perform that thing. That's a unique way of looking at it, to detach emotionally from the ups and the downs. So some are dollar cost average, some you want that cash flow on a monthly basis. But if your livelihood depends on only that cash flow, right? Chances are it's going to really, on a day-to-day basis, if it fluctuates, it's going to affect your day-to-day lifestyle. So I think having the synergistic portfolio and understanding the responsibility of each dollar and what job they're supposed to be doing, that helps you to handle the emotional roller coaster that comes with that, potential roller coaster that comes with that, right?
So you
So
get to get off the roller coaster. I like to lead a very adventurous life. And I say this on
Okay.
my podcast at the end. I always say adventure belongs on the trail because I'm an outdoor enthusiast,
Yeah, I
not
seen you with a
in our
bicycle riding around.
investing and not in our personal lives. Keep the adventure, the roller coasters where it belongs, amusement
Okay.
parks and recreation.
I appreciate that. I like the mindset adjustment. I think that's why we work well together. Look, okay, I see what you're saying. Get off the roller coaster. Leave the roller coaster for the theme park. I like that. All right. So we got two more questions, and I think we got a little bit of time that we can work with. Let's talk about leveraging mindset for long-term success. And the last question would be building and preserving wealth across market cycles. So you focus on a mindset as a key element of success. How does having the growth-oriented mindset empowers passive investors to thrive in both favorable and challenging market conditions?
A growth mindset is going to help us in every single part of our life. So let's just back up one notch and say a fixed mindset means this is the way it is. This is the way it will always be. And I am staying right here. And that growth mindset says, I am going to grow and expand and evolve through life and through the circumstances and through what is taking place. I'm going to throw one more or actual analogy because I guarantee you, because of your experience in the military and my background as a rock climber, there are ropes and we like dynamic ropes, right? If we're out there climbing or doing something, we want dynamic ropes that have some stretch to them. So if you take a fall, it absorbs it. That's a growth mindset that represents that. A dynamic or a static rope, on the other hand, that's really great if we want to tow something or haul something. We don't want that stretch at all. That's a fixed mindset. So we can visualize right now, if we're hauling something and we need it to stay put and stay placed without any movement, then yeah, great, grab that static rope. But we need to be dynamic as people because we are going to get tossed around in the waves of life, and that's okay. And when we have that growth mindset, then we're able to adapt and adjust to the circumstances around us. We will become obsolete. That's one of my things is we either adapt or we become obsolete. I've been saying it for years, and we can look at Kodak cameras. Kodak used to be the leader in the photography space. They didn't adapt to the digital era, and they aren't completely obsolete. But do we really go and buy Kodak things anymore? Not really. Not the way we used to back in the 80s and beyond. So we always want to make sure that we are adapting and adjusting our mindset to what is taking place in the marketplace. Maybe there's an operator that we invested with and we had a great experience, and maybe some things have shifted around a bit. Like
Right.
that can happen. People change. And so we also want to be aware of, just because I invested with this person at one point, I want to still be aware of what's taking place, and I want to make adjustments. And maybe I want to try another investor. Maybe I want to go into Hutch's investments because I want to go, and I know he's a great person. So I'm going to put some money over there, and so we want to always be adaptive in our investing.
Oh yeah, 100%. And talking about adapting, that's one of the things that Heath and I did over the past couple of years is we adapt to those operators who have actually adjust their, maybe not so much their business strategy, but their tactics in improving cash flow. For example, we've seen a significant rise over the years in insurance expenses and also taxes, which are two of the expenses that we typically cannot control. We find an operator that have figured out and have built the systems and have the systems in place and processes in place and the team in place to build one, to scale their company and also eliminate one of the most unpredictable expenses, which is taxes. And by doing that, we don't have to take on the risk of doing this large renovation. They can pretty much buy a stabilized 100% renovated property and eliminate or significantly reduce the tax for the next 99 years, right? Of course, there's a trade-off because we have to reserve some of those units for the affordable housing. So we're solving two things. We are creating cash flow for the investors and also helping the affordability concept for the community. So having an operator that can meet those two priorities for our investors, I think is a really good thing. So Heath and I, we are seeking out those kind of operators who have incorporated those tactics and have the teams in place to do that. And that shows the adjustment in different market cycles, because there is an environment where we can pay all of our bills and still have cash flow. This environment, it's becoming a lot more challenging without some in-depth understanding and some really good tactics to really provide good cash flow in this time.
It's so critical. I know that my two partnerships that I invest with, we invest one partnership in assisted living facilities.
Nice.
And that just makes my heart happy at being able to serve that demographic. And it's also advantageous for our investors. Like we're vertically integrated. And so now when we start to look at those micro adjustments as how are these teams functioning so that they can withstand the shifts, because expenses, you have to be paying attention to the expenses. We're walking in though with 1.1 million of equity, and we've created 2.3 million of equity by how we've been able to operate on another facility. So it's really neat. When we look at that. And on the other hand, my other partnership, we invest in multifamily, and we're seeing expenses on the services, our waste removal, that can get really expensive really quickly. Does it make sense if we actually just create our own company? You want people that are going to think in an agile way and say, what's the best solution for this? So we have snow removal in-house now. That is powerful, right? So you definitely want to be investing with people that are thinking agilely, that are aware of where's the money flowing and how can we navigate this in a way where we retain the maximum amount of funds.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You and I could talk forever. I want to be respectful of time. I think you have another meeting in 5 minutes. So we're gonna go into the focus round. So, Julie, what do you do for fun?
Ooh, I have any adventure that is adrenaline. So I love to be out in the mountains, and I also read. I don't read, I study. I decided you probably will appreciate that distinction. So I'm a voracious reader, but now I say I'm a voracious studier.
I like that. I don't read a lot. I study a lot.
Don't just read to read. You're reading because you want that internal movement.
On my good notes on my iPad, every book that I read a few years ago, I listen to it all the way through. And then the second and third and fourth time that I listen to it, I got a folder on my good notes that I go in there and I take notes. Okay, can I turn that into a LinkedIn blog? And how can I incorporate that in my next mentorship session with a Marine that might be struggling? So to your point,
Yes.
studying of ways of improving me as a being, how I show up, and the impact that I can make for others, whether it be my children, my wife, or the Marines or investors that we work with. So, what is one opportunity that was a game changer for you, Julie?
I've had so many opportunities when I could say the first syndication that I was invited to participate in as a co-GP that opened the floodgates of multiple opportunities. The
Right?
first stage where I was just thrown onto a stage, not literally thrown, but just it was a very not planned, but I was invited last minute, and that changed. And I started speaking to thousands of people after that.
That's awesome.
So
Yeah.
and then my first coaching client, after being told I need to coach and taking on that first coaching client and seeing the growth. So every time we say yes to discomfort, and we invite these amazing opportunities that change our lives.
Got you. So I got 3 minutes and I got three more questions. So I got to make them short. What would you say is your most important communication tip?
Be authentic, be genuine. And if you have to say the hard things, say them. It's easier than having to go back and say, I'm sorry, I should have told you. Just say the tough things
Yeah.
when you need to say them. And then make sure you're always saying the really good things. Focus on all the great things that are going on, because there are more
Yeah.
good things.
See, I was listening to Athena talking to our daughter Shelon. Every negative thing she says, she have to now find a positive. And I was like, oh man, I like that. Okay. What is one thing you wish you understood earlier?
That I can accomplish anything I put my mind to. And
Perfect.
any human can. So, listener, you can, whatever you want, you can do that.
So to what do you attribute your success?
Going back to vertical alignment, full
Yeah,
circle is being
I like
vertically
that.
aligned and being free to just live into this greater contribution I have in the world. It's so much fun. It's not a sure-footed path, and having that faith to know it doesn't have to be, and that I
Yeah,
can be, the balance is going to shift, and
yeah.
that's okay. I'm going to be okay.
That is awesome, man. Julie, I want to thank you. Thank you so much for this amazing conversation. And we keep the adrenaline for the roller coaster, right? If our listeners want to get in touch with you, how do they go about doing that?
Connect up with me over on LinkedIn, Julie
Right.
Holley, and I have a really cool download. So if you text the word freedom to 208-944-1836, you will get a whole different mindset and philosophy on investing, and it is the conscious investor way.
Thank you so much, Julie, for joining us in this podcast episode. And listeners, I trust you got some really good mindset information from this podcast, and looking forward to you joining us on the next one. So thank you again for listening to another episode of the Multifamily Real Estate Experiment Podcast. I'm Hutch the Marine Investor, out.